She took a terrifying experience and turned it into something that has helped countless children in need of love and support. Miranda Kamal is the founder of MJKO Boxing, and she truly is the epitome of inspiration. MJKO Boxing is definitely something I need to speak to you about, Miranda, today. It started off from a traumatic experience, actually, from a sexual assault that you experienced. Tell me about that moment.
Well, you know, as a young person, it's challenging now because I deal with a lot of young people. But you know, as a young person, your parents, they tell you don't do certain things. You want to be cool, you want to go with the bad guys, and then, you know, before you know it, kind of your parents' worst enemy, your, you know, worst fear actually comes true.
Yeah.
And for me, that ended up being a sexual assault. That was my first sexual experience. And I swore this time I was not going to cry on any interview. But, you know, it changed me as a person. I started not to trust, and you know, from that moment until I started boxing and actually started fighting, I never felt safe.
And now you were 16.
Yeah.
You were 16, very young. Now, you took up boxing as a way to learn self-defense so you could protect yourself.
Absolutely.
And so describe that moment for me as a young 16-year-old girl taking up something to protect herself, when normally you think you could just walk down the road and you'd be safe.
Yeah, so the thing is that I actually suffered in silence for a long time. So I had that sexual assault when I was 16, but I didn't start competing in boxing until I was a woman, until I was 29 years old. And I walked for all those years with fear. And you know, I started not to trust men. I got into relationships specifically that I knew wouldn't amount to anything. And then when I actually got in the ring for the first time and I was free in terms of I didn't have to be nice, I didn't have to be polite, I didn't have to be nurturing, and I could just be like, "Rawr." It was like, it was actually phenomenal. It was probably the best experience I've had in my whole life.
Probably very freeing for you.
It's magical. As much as people think of boxing as a violent sport, it was so peaceful. And then, you know, for me, my story changed very quickly because I started competing, fell in love with the sport that healed me, and then bam, I got injured, right?
Yeah. And describe that injury to me, because it was not boxing related, if I'm correct.
Yeah, you know, speaking to hearing your other guests talk about being in a male-dominated industry, I had the same situation, and I didn't want to. I started to get hurt in terms of have a minor injury in my back, but I didn't want to complain. I didn't want to be like the baby on the team, so I sucked it up, and eventually I had a disc in my back that blew up. And it resulted in, basically, I lost function of my bladder, and I had surgery the same day. So it was pretty scary.
But you know, that didn't stop you from exploring boxing. And I think it's very important to note that you had described boxing as not necessarily being a violent sport. And it really isn't, because you started MJKO because you were injured.
Absolutely.
You wanted to continue the art of boxing in many ways.
Absolutely.
And you started to mentor young kids.
Yes.
So I believe MJKO is mentoring junior
kids organization.
There you go.
Absolutely.
And it's about mentoring kids with non-contact boxing,
Absolutely.
right? So describe that to me for those who may not understand it, because they hear boxing and they automatically think about fighting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the non-contact aspects means you're doing all the calisthenics, you're working with a coach, you know, you're building life skills, you know, you're learning how to convert your weight from kilograms to pounds, but you're not actually getting in there and having a competition. So you're not actually fighting. So you know, it's definitely the same empowerment that you get, but it's definitely not the same as fighting.
I was reading up on MJKO, and the kids have been transformed.
Absolutely.
Just, you know, entering the program and drawing a photo of their life in a very suicidal manner,
Absolutely.
to then, you know, drawing a photo of their life months later, and it has so much positivity and there's so much opportunity for them.
Yeah.
So what's it been like to see these kids transform through this MJKO program of boxing?
You know, I think the funny thing about life is your hardships, other people are going through something more challenging, and those kids that I got to meet throughout the program, they actually inspired me. So when you have a kid who was asked to draw a picture of himself, and he drew a picture of himself hanging himself because he's overweight and people are bullying him, and to find out that kid's coming to your class every day, and you know, something as small as just patting him on the back and being like, "Oh, good job, champ," is actually helping him, you know, slowly push through those issues. It's literally
giving
like
them those positive affirmations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's hard to, it's for me as a person, I can't believe how many kids are suffering in silence, and that we're just a very, very small part of their day that just helps them feel better.
Now, how do you hope to expand the program? Because it's done so much with so many children up to today. How do you hope to expand that and continue this mission of yours?
You know, for us, it's all about, you know, this cycle continuing. So our biggest success story is having kids that were once in the program now going back into the community and truly paying that forward, and the cycle continuing. And we're lucky to say that, you know, now I have about 6 youth coaches that were all students, all from areas in the community that are a little bit more challenging, and they're exceeding. They're in university, they're graduating. Some of our students were never expected to get through high school without having a baby. You know, here they are going to nursing school. So for us, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Now, lastly, from being 16 years old, surviving a very traumatic experience, to then competing, you know, with boxing, then getting injured, and now starting this. You must have grown a lot. There must have been a lot of self-healing that's happened.
Yeah.
So describe these past few years for me and the type of self-healing that you've been through.
I would say it's still a journey, and that I sometimes feel at war with my injury, especially when I come across a kid that's super talented and they sometimes don't have the drive or they don't see their gift, because I had a gift, but I got injured and it was totally out of my control. So I'm still learning to deal with that process, and I think being in the sport, you know, I married an 8-time national champion, I got married in the boxing ring, I got involved in professional boxing.
Yeah, it's part of your life.
I can't imagine a life without boxing.
Yeah.
It's the best couples therapy, you know, if you ever need therapy, I'll say it's fantastic. But I mean, it's really healed me as a person.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining me
Absolutely.
and sharing your inspirational journey, and I wish the best for
having
MJKO.
me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You'll have to come by one time.
I know, I'm not very good with the boxing stuff, but you know, I'll give it a try.
But you have to, that's what everyone says, even the kids, they say, I'm not very good at it, but you have to try, right?
You know, anything to help kids.
Absolutely.
I'm in.
Okay, perfect. I'm signing you up.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining me on Date with Daniel. Please like my video and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more quick, quirky, fun, and insightful chats.